Coach, you said after the game that it's good to be able to go in and say, guys, we're a second half team, but I prefer not say that anymore. I prefer that to be a fourth quarter team. What do you have to do during the bye week and moving into the second half of the game?
Yeah, I think we've done it in certain phases, certain games. We've done it on offense. We've done it on defense. We've done it on special teams. We haven't really done it in all three. Obviously, on offense, we started, went down, scored a touchdown, got a PI call, had to kick the field goal. I'm not saying I disagree with the call. I'm just saying we've done it at times. We got to put it all together. So offense, defense, and special teams all starting strong. And it's details. It's getting the guys settled. It's getting them really comfortable. It's figuring out what they're going to be doing differently than what we had planned for, because that's going to happen, and get our guys to adjust and feel comfortable and play fast. But we just got to do it really in at least 2 out of the 3 phases in each game.
James, you've done some pretty with Andy, been able to kind of open up, because it seems like it's taken it to a whole different level with the snapping and passing more frequently and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's been really good, and I think it's magnified when you got a really good player who's also really smart and also was a high school quarterback. All those things help, and they kind of play into it. So taking a snap from gun with a cadence isn't foreign to him. Taking a snap from under center isn't foreign to him. So those things magnify it and allow you to do different things. It's funny, we ran a similar play when we were at Vanderbilt. So having players like this that can do a lot of different things, and he's one of your best players and one of the best players in college football, it helps.
James, you're halfway through the regular season now. How would you evaluate the job that Andy and Drew have done working together, and how has Andy helped Drew most through these 6 games?
I think Andy and Danny O'Brien, our quarterbacks coach, and Drew, I think, are doing a really good job. I think Bo as well. Like I've mentioned before, I think Drew is a year older, much more comfortable, much more confident in his role as a leader, in understanding the speed of the game, how to prepare, all those things. I think Danny's done a really good job of spending time and building trust and having kind of a demeanor on the sideline that I think has been really good for him as well. And then, Andy is doing a really good job of playing to Drew's strengths as well as playing to our personnel strengths. I think it's a combination of all those things.
On a similar line, James, you've got 6 games with Tom now, and obviously you had the midseason switch to putting him in the booth. So how do you feel that things have gone with him so far, and how the fit has gone with the locker room?
Yeah, I think it's been good. There's still things that to me, me and Andy were talking before practice, walking a few laps. I think the exciting thing, and I know you asked about Tom, but the exciting thing is I still feel like there's still a lot of room for improvement for us, and that's the exciting thing, right? We're fortunate to get a win going into the bye week. We had a really good practice today, not very long, but a smart, really good practice. We're able to work on some things that I think we're going to need to work on moving forward. We'll get a chance to do that tomorrow as well, and then obviously get into actual game week and be able to build on it even more. James. Can I help you, sir? You good?
James, I'm a bit off topic, but looking at everything that Landon Tangwall is doing, the media and everything, what does that say about what Penn State football is doing for players, after football, preparing them for that?
Yeah, I'm just proud of Landon. I think he's got a unique perspective of being a high-profile 4 to 5-star national recruit, so he understands that aspect of it. He's been a starter in a top 10 program in the Big Ten, so he knows what that's like. He understands the game. So I just think he's got a unique perspective on the game of football, and then obviously he understands Penn State. So I think he's doing a really good job. This was something we're trying to kind of figure out what the next phase was, whether it was coaching, whether it was strength and conditioning, whatever it may be, media. And he seems to be carving out a nice little niche for himself. and none of us are surprised. And then I think the other thing, obviously, is his ability to understand what our players are going through and also has relationships with them. I think he can ask really good questions that I think a lot of the fans want to hear. So I think he's doing a really nice job. I'm proud of him, and we're not surprised one bit. I think he's got a very, very bright future.
The 6-0 start is obviously moving you up in the rankings and the national media's attention. How do you instruct your guys to handle that praise while still being composed and focusing on the task at hand?
Yeah, we don't really talk about it. You know, we were 1-0 last week, and we're appreciative of that. I don't think we've talked about it one time in our building. We talked about another team's ranking today, showing a clip from a game this past weekend, and just talking about the effort that the young man played with. But we don't talk about that. You know, those things are out of our control. We really do not talk about it. We don't spend any time talking about those things. We just focus on trying to get better. And, you know, I think so far our guys have done a pretty good job of that. We're going to have to do that again this week because, you know, coming up we're going to be going on the road, night game, and another tough environment, jump around, all that good stuff. Really good program, well coached. So we're gonna need to take another step this week because these road games are challenging.
Coach, going back to talking about Andy's creativity, I know you said you ran something like that at Vanderbilt, but has he brought you any plays where you're just like, no, that's too far out of the box? Have you just absolutely stonewalled him on anything yet?
No.
You have a couple games now of data for Zion Tracy as your punt returner. How would you evaluate his role back there so far and just your kick and punt return games in general through 6 weeks?
Yeah, I think he did a nice job in the most important part of the job, which is catching. I thought there was one that he let get to the ground that he needs to catch. I do think as he gets more comfortable and more confident doing that, then he'll have the ability to make some more plays for us. But as you know, we've been kind of working through that all year long. And we've been down this road before, so hopefully we'll be getting Caden back at some point. Hopefully Zion continues to grow, which I think he will. Hopefully we'll get Jake Spencer back as well, another guy that's caught punts in college games before as well. And then there's other guys that are working on it too. So solid, but you know, right now I think we're doing a really good job on special teams. If you look at us, like punt return, I don't think anybody's gotten a yard this year on punt return. That's based on coverage. That's also based on how we're punting the ball. So I think we're doing a really good job of limiting explosive plays and game-changing plays on special teams. Now we got to start to make a few of our own.
James, I think after the game you said this was a good time for a bye. Can you explain why and how do you handle this week as compared to the first bye?
Well, I just think when you talk about the middle of the season, game 6, it's a good point to have a bye game. Sometimes you get a bye really early, sometimes you get a bye late, and not the best position for the bye to land, but this is at a good point. And then obviously coming off a win, I'd probably feel very different if we hadn't come off a win, but coming off a win, there's good vibes, there's good mojo. We got a chance to still learn and teach and grow after a win, which I think is a really important skill and tool for us all to learn. You know, like I've talked about before, you shouldn't need a setback to take a step forward, to have the maturity to work on the things that you need to improve on. So I think the staff is approaching it that way. I think the players are approaching it that way. I thought today was a really good example of that.
Two more guys. Just referenced that Caden and Jake are guys you hope to get back. Does Keon Wiley fall into that category? I asked because we saw him briefly today walking in. I don't recall seeing him on the field since last year. Not that he was practicing, but he had his jersey, some shorts, so kind of piqued my interest.
Yeah, he's a guy we're hoping to get back at some point.
Okay.
Going back to Tyler, you talk about the offense. There's obviously
You got a second question before you get your first.
Go ahead.
There's some intelligence, I'm sure, with the talent. I'm curious how much he is involved in the offensive schemes that he's been able to run, and does he ever, bring certain ideas or plays that he'd like to be involved into?
Who are you talking about?
Tyler.
Warren?
Yep.
No, we're not against that. Players can bring ideas. Anybody can bring idea. If it's a good idea, we'll use it. If it's not, we won't. But I'm not aware of that happening at this point.
James, you've run a lot of man coverage this year. You talked about that preseason in terms of wanting that to be a part of your identity. Turnovers seem to be a little bit down. Is that a trade-off in terms of, having guys with their back to the ball and not getting interceptions? And how does that work in terms of what you do and then maybe some things that don't show up because of those things?
Yeah, I don't have the data in front of me. It's a good question. I don't have the data in front of me. I don't know if we're playing more man this year than we did last year. I don't know if you know that.
About 40%.
Yeah, so a little bit more, but not much more, not significant in my mind. But no, I wouldn't say that's the case. But that's the stuff that we're going to be looking at this week while we do our self-scouting. But I don't have that data yet.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, James.